This boy has a super exhausting night job, so when he shows up to school, the popular kids are all hanging out. But Aragi Kai just walks past without saying a word to anyone. When Mito Shuji greets him, Kai doesn't even bother trying to be friendly. That's why the girls say they don't even need to greet people like him. Every conversation is a total drag for Kai, but when this kid gets to the classroom, Arashi demands that everyone respect and greet him. But Kai, he just doesn't give a shit about these people. Arashi then calls out to him, super pissed, questioning if he wasn't going to answer when people talk to him. When Arashi tried to wake Kai, he was shocked by the main character's reaction. He screamed really loud to get his arm free, so Kai just made him shut up with a light squeeze on his wrist. So when Arashi finally broke free from Kai, he thought better of it and didn't want to insist on provoking the kid for now. The bully was scared, but when a girl said he was being too noisy, Arashi went back to being a jerk again. After all, it's just a girl. Mireille stepped in. She's from the disciplinary council and has authority, so the bully sat down but with his feet on the table. Obviously, what these students don't know is that the reason for Aragi Kai's extreme drowsiness is that he has a forbidden job at night. This criminal had managed to escape the police, but not Kai's blade. That's his secret job. Of course, Kai wasn't going to use his talents at school, but everything changed when he felt something weird. His instincts were screaming, danger. A blue light flashed on the classroom floor, and all the students panicked when they realized it. All the students in the room were teleported. An old castle, it seemed. Everyone was out cold on the floor. Kai was the first one to wake up, spotting stone walls, huge pillars for cover, and just one exit. Soon, the other students started coming too. Panic broke out, but Shuji stepped in and calmed everyone down. Kai felt a huge relief that Shuji was there to keep the class together. Then Arashi stood up, declaring they couldn't waste time, and told his two guys to follow him. Kai stopped him, warning that he heard footsteps coming from behind the door. Kai sensed a man and a woman approaching. Just as he thought, the door opened, and in walked a girl and an old man. They looked like something out of a medieval story, wearing weird old-fashioned flowy clothes and capes. The girl greeted them, calling them impressive and hero candidates. The students were totally caught off guard. Kai quickly checked them out, noticing the old man had the build of a sword user and was clearly on guard. The girl, though, seemed pretty normal to Kai, even with a hint of muscle. She introduced herself as Leonora, the Archbishop of the holy country of Digorest. The man with her was Gaius, her knight and protector. Arashi immediately spoke up, saying he'd never heard of Digorest and asking if she was messing with them. Leonora quickly assured him she wasn't. Shuji stepped in, explaining that they were all a bit on edge after suddenly ending up here. So the girl started telling them everything. She explained they had been summoned to a parallel world. They were humanity's last hope to defeat the evil demon king. Basically, they were this world's hero candidates. Yeah, that was a pretty tough one for the students to believe. Gaius immediately told Arashi to watch his tone with the country's saint. Arashi didn't even flinch, which made Gaius pull out his sword, but Leonora calmed him down. Then, out of nowhere, Arashi jumped right at Gaius. Kai couldn't believe how brave he was. But before Arashi could even land a hit, Gaius was too fast. He swung his sword, making a small cut on Arashi's head before anyone could even see it happen. Leonora quickly apologized for Gaius's aggressive move. She told everyone she'd explain everything in detail, but they needed to be quiet and listen first. Leonora's calm attitude suddenly vanished, replaced by a much scarier vibe. She explained the devastating truth. The Demon King's invasion had humanity on the brink of extinction. The country of Digorest was still fighting, but they just didn't have the strength to fully stop the invasion anymore. Kai, meanwhile, thought this whole story sounded pretty standard. Leonora continued, telling them they were humanity's last hope. The students immediately protested, saying they couldn't possibly do this since they'd never even fought before. Some of the girls were already in tears. Gaius stepped in, saying it might sound impossible, but they had to try. He dropped a bomb. There was no way for them to return to their own world unless they defeated the Demon King. This news hit the students even harder, leaving them absolutely stunned. Kai figured Gaius only said that to light a fire under them. He knew people who'd lived peaceful lives couldn't just start killing. That kind of thing needed talent and experience. Meanwhile, Arashi stood up, blood still on his head, and cursed them out for trying to boss them around. Arashi then told them he hated people exactly like them. Gaius noticed Arashi's spirit was still unbroken, making him wonder if this guy could actually be a useful warrior. But then, Gaius clutched his sword, deciding Arashi might just be too much trouble, and decided to kill him. Before he could make a move, Leonora was already there, healing Arashi's wound. Leonora explained that this power she was using was called the System, a gift from their gods. She put it simply simply for them. It was just like magic from their world. Kai picked up on her knowing about their culture, making him wonder if she'd summoned people from their world before. Walking toward Shuji, she told them this system power was the very reason she'd summoned them. She raised her hands, and suddenly Shuji's wrist started glowing. In an instant, a sword made of light appeared in his hand. She explained that they too could use the system's power and awaken their innate abilities of divine protection. Leonora admitted she had a selfish request. She'd called them here, and now they couldn't leave, so she asked them to lend her their powers. Shuji pointed out that no matter how much power they got, they couldn't just start fighting immediately. She assured him they would definitely be trained and fully taken care of during that time. Shuji quickly took charge of the situation. He told his classmates he knew they were scared, but they first needed information and protection. For now, he said, they should listen to what Leonora had to say, and everyone agreed. Seeing they were all ready to help, Leonora began giving them their divine powers. Mireri got telekinesis. Arashi received explosion powers. Rina was granted fire powers. Yoshia got wind powers, and all the other students received various incredible abilities too. Leonora then asked if anyone was left, and Kai raised his hand. She gave him his powers, and Kai immediately noticed his vision changing. The moment he finished getting his new abilities, he could suddenly read Leonora's stats. Kai's eyes suddenly turned red. Leonora explained he'd gotten a super rare power called Judgment. This power lets him see any target stats and details. Of course, Kai immediately tried it on himself, and he could see all his own stats. Arashi tried his own powers, then immediately roasted Kai, saying he just got a new eye color. Kai noticed how all the other students were acting super confident and full of themselves. He found it funny because they knew nothing about this new world. Plus, their powers were just borrowed and could vanish any moment. But Kai, he was totally chill. He knew he had plenty of other ways to get things done, if you catch my drift. Once everyone had their powers, Leonora told them to get some rest. That evening, the hero candidates were led to their own rooms. But Kai wasn't about to stay put. He quickly snuck out his window, ready to find more info. Outside, guards were patrolling and chatting. They were making fun of how weak the hero candidates looked. They couldn't believe these kids were picked to take down the Demon King. One guard mumbled that the Saints must know something they don't. Kai listened to their whole conversation. He then used his judgment power on one of the guards. He quickly saw the guy only knew swordsmanship. With that, Kai quietly moved on, still looking for more answers. Kai also learned the city was super fortified. He wanted to get into the inner castle, but the gates were locked down with tons of guards. Sneaking in now would be impossible, so he decided not to rush it and would come back later. Meanwhile, out in an open field, Rina was scouting for a good spot with her two sidekicks. They were there to practice their brand new powers. The trio started conjuring their elements, watching them closely. Rina really wanted to understand all this divine protection stuff. Kai was hiding in a bush, keeping an eye on them, when he suddenly felt something weird. The girls heard a strange noise from the bushes too. Then a giant lizard-like creature burst out. It was clearly drawn in by the girls' magic. Kai quickly used his judgment power to check the monster's stats. He was seriously shocked. Its stats were insane. The creature roared and immediately started chasing the girls. Kai quickly figured out that while the lizard was super strong and aggressive, it only ran in a straight line and wasn't very smart. Kai threw a knife, and it pierced the monster's thick skin. Just then, Rina tripped and fell. The beast had caught up and was about to crush her, but then it suddenly froze. The girls looked around and saw a knife sticking out of the monster's head, bleeding. They wondered who had saved her, but decided not to stick around. So, they bounced. Kai didn't really have a reason to save them, but his conscience wouldn't let him just watch. He realized that if monsters like this were just roaming around, things weren't going to be easy here. He walked over to the monster's body to grab his knife, when suddenly he sensed someone nearby. Kai quickly ducked behind the huge monster's body, peering around, but saw nothing. He decided to just head back to his room and steer clear of any more trouble. After he left, a figure stepped out from behind a wall, completely cloaked in a robe. You couldn't even see their face. This mysterious person then smashed the monster's head, crushing its eyes right out. They muttered to themselves, super disappointed by how useless and weak these hero candidates were. But then, they noticed Kai. He smelled just like them. The next morning, Gaius showed up with a huge surprise: the dead monster's body. All the hero candidates were totally shocked to see something like that. Gaius explained that the monster was found dead last night near the royal capital. He continued that the Demon King had driven these monsters crazy, making them absolutely crave human flesh. He told the hero candidates they would be fighting creatures just like that one. Gaius then asked Steady, one of the researchers, if he'd found anything odd about the monster. Steady confirmed it. There were signs of sorcery at play, probably from a pretty strong demon, like a mid-grade one or higher. He thought maybe these demons were just scouting out the new, weaker hero candidates. Kai, meanwhile, wondered if sorcery was different from magic. It was a new word he'd just heard the researcher use. Shuji jumped in, asking if that meant a demon was controlling the monster. Steady explained that powerful demons could totally control weaker monsters using servitude spells. Gaius then dragged Steady away, even though he clearly wanted to explain more. Kai figured Steady would be a huge help for getting information. He definitely needed him. Then it hit Kai. Those eyes he'd felt last night? That was actually a demon. The demon was super skilled too, because Kai barely even picked up on them. He got this creeping feeling that the demon might still be lurking around, maybe even watching them right now. Suddenly, he felt eyes on him. Arashi told Gaius straight up that they couldn't even go home without killing the demon first, and he certainly wasn't planning on staying in this world forever. The other students quickly agreed with him. Kai thought it was probably for the best that everyone understood the real stakes soon. Just then, Leonora walked in, telling them not to freak out. They just didn't know how to use their powers yet, that's all. A little training was all they needed. Since they were from another world, their growth speed would be totally different from the locals. A week quickly flew by with the students in full training mode. Kai was busy reading books in the library. He could already read and understand every letter of the new language. Honestly, he still thought it was weird they could even talk to each other to begin with. His judgment powers weren't really good for fighting, so he was left out of battle training, but at least he got access to the library. He couldn't find many books about their history, culture, or even about demons. The top 5 students were Narumi, who controlled wind, Arashi with his explosive powers, Kenzaki, who had telekinesis, Hashimoto with her land abilities, and Reina, who commanded fire. But there was someone else whose power was growing at an absolutely incredible rate. Shuji was the one. He quickly became stronger than even his own sword teachers. Kai used his judgment skill and saw that Shuji's stats were all above B grade, a huge jump from being below D grade just last week. Suddenly, 2 guys walked up to Kai and started messing with him. Kai noticed others were also looking down on him now. These new powers were clearly making them feel overconfident. One of the boys tried to push Kai around, but Kai smoothly flipped him onto the ground instead. Meanwhile, Leonora and Gaius showed up at the training grounds. Leonora announced that everyone had leveled up faster than she expected, so they were moving things along. Narumi asked if this meant fighting the Demon King, but Leonora shook her head. They were just going to practice fighting monsters for now. Everyone looked a bit nervous hearing that. The next day, Gaius and Leonora led all the hero candidates deep into a forest. Gaius explained they were there for combat drills. This spot was packed with powerful creatures, so they couldn't just stick together as one big group. Because of that, they'd be split into teams of 2 or 3. As soon as that was announced, everyone quickly formed their own groups, leaving only Kai and Kenzaki without a team. They had no other choice but to pair up together. Kai thought Kenzaki seemed pretty confident and a bit uncaring, plus super proud. She even caught him looking at her. At the same time, Leonora announced that since this was a special event, the team that took down the most monsters would get a surprise reward. Soon after, the combat drills officially started. As they headed out, Kenzaki told Kai that her powers were way better than anyone else's, so she didn't need his help at all. She just told him not to get in her way. Kai just agreed, saying he'd leave everything to her. Kenzaki looked surprised, asking if he had no pride. Right then, Kai sensed 4 hidden creatures lurking nearby. Suddenly, one of the monsters charged at them, and Kenzaki immediately used her power. Her ability, called Domination, let her force her will onto any target. She simply commanded the goblin to bow, and it did exactly what she said. A few minutes later, Kenzaki looked super tired. She explained that using her powers for too long drained her mana, making her exhausted. Kai told her to just finish off the goblin, especially since another monster was about to strike. But Kenzaki hesitated, saying the monster looked a bit too human to her. Kai brought her back to reality, reminding her it was still a monster that just tried to attack them. He picked up a stone, thinking Kenzaki was just a naive student from Japan, too used to a peaceful life. He was fiddling with the stone when suddenly, the other 3 goblins appeared. Kenzaki ordered the goblins to bow, then snapped at Kai to help instead of just standing around. Kai shot back, reminding her that she was the one who told him not to get involved. She let out a sigh and then commanded the goblins to twist their own necks, and just like that, they were dead. Kai was pretty shocked, seeing her boss around like that. She explained that the tougher the command, the trickier it was to pull off. The dead goblins grossed her out, but Kai dropped some wisdom to calm her down. She wondered how he stayed so chill, especially without any powers. Kai just told her not to sweat it, saying being calm was his thing. He then asked if she wanted to bail, thinking she might be scared. But of course, she totally shot him down, full of pride. Kai knew she was just trying to act tough, but he had to admit she wasn't so bad after all. Meanwhile, Narumi and Hashimoto were scrambling away from a seriously tough monster. Running wasn't really an option, so they decided to team up and fight. They combined their wind and rock powers, hitting the monster with a massive boulder, but it barely even fazed the thing. They were totally stuck. unsure what to do next. Kenzaki was actually thinking about her own world. She really wanted to go back and show her grandpa how much she'd grown, repaying him for raising her. Kai snapped her out of it, asking if she still wanted to push forward, warning they could easily get lost out here. They started bickering back and forth. Kenzaki couldn't help but wonder why Kai was such a stubborn mystery. While they were messing around, a loud noise suddenly echoed. Kenzaki immediately knew it was Hashimoto. Kai asked what they should do, and Kenzaki quickly told him they obviously had to help. Over there, the monster had just chucked Hashimoto pretty far, leaving her hurt and bleeding. Hashimoto yelled for Narumi to run, but it was already too late. The monster was about to attack him next. Kenzaki quickly used her powers, ordering the monster to stop moving. Narumi thanked her, but Kenzaki warned that the creature was way too strong and wouldn't stay frozen for long. Kai asked Narumi if Hashimoto was still alive. Narumi confirmed she was, but she was hurt really badly. Kai told Narumi to pick up Hashimoto and get out of there fast. Narumi really didn't want to leave, but seeing Hashimoto's awful state, he had no choice. As Narumi left, Kai used his own powers to peek at the monster's stats. He was pretty amazed by how high they were, especially its defense. Kai immediately knew his attacks wouldn't even dent this thing much. He also saw it was some kind of mutant, and wondered what it actually was. Kenzaki yelled that she couldn't hold it back anymore. Kai told her she'd bought them enough time, and now they had to run too. She agreed, seeing how bad things were, but her legs just wouldn't move. She'd used up all her energy stopping the monster. Seeing how dire the situation had become, Kai quickly pulled out a smoke grenade and popped it. This gave him just enough cover to grab Kenzaki and vanish into hiding. She asked what the smoke was. Kai explained it was a smoke grenade he'd whipped up back when they were all training. He was actually lying though. Kai had brought some gear with him even before he was summoned here. Since he didn't have much, he wanted to save them and not use them carelessly. It was just basic assassin stuff. Kenzaki then apologized. She was the one who insisted they go help, and now she ended up needing saving herself. Kai cut her off, telling her not to say sorry, but to thank him instead. And just like that, they started bickering again. She thought they should run away, but he quickly disagreed. Just then, Shuji and the others arrived. Without a moment's hesitation, he charged the bear for hurting his friends. Shuji moved swiftly, landing a hit that injured the monster's hand. Rina jumped into the fight, unleashing her fire powers. The flames didn't do much damage, but they did manage to slow the monster down. Everyone then attacked the monster again. All the while, someone was silently watching them from a distance. Turns out it was a seasoned assassin demon called Delphus. He smirked, muttering that the armored monster stood no chance against these hero candidates because of their fast growth. Delphus especially liked how calm they were, particularly Shuji. This was supposed to be just a scouting mission, but Delphus decided it was time for a change of plans. He intended to finish them all right there, but while he was plotting, Shuji and the others managed to take down the monster. Delphus grinned, ready to strike. But before he could make a move, a dagger pressed against his neck. It was Kai. Delphus was completely stunned, wondering how he'd been caught like that. Stressed, Delphus couldn't figure out how Kai had gotten behind him so quickly. He desperately needed an escape route, but Kai was faster, slashing his legs and throwing him hard onto the ground. Kai told him to keep quiet. He didn't want Shuji and the others to notice them. He offered a deal, answer his questions, and he'd let Delphus go. Delphus didn't want to give in, but Kai clearly had the upper hand. Kai then asked if Delphus was the one who had watched him the other night. He explained that he knew they were being watched all along. His plan was to let Shuji and the others fight, drawing out the observer. Kai cut him off, stating he needed information since they were new to this world. He told Delphus he had to answer whatever he asked. Delphus just smirked and refused to talk, so Kai slashed his hands too, repeating that cooperation would be easier. Delphus warned him not to underestimate him. Then, he swallowed some poison he had hidden, dying instantly. Kai realized then that the Demon King's army would be seriously tough to deal with. Suddenly, Kenzaki came over, completely shocked to see the dead body. Kai asked how long she'd been watching. She replied, since he was on the ground. Kai explained that the dead demon was an assassin from the Demon King's army. He added that the monster they fought earlier was just a pawn, and even the first lizard monster was his doing. Kenzaki got a little scared, realizing the Demon King was actively trying to kill the hero candidates. She asked how Kai noticed the assassin when no one else did. Kai decided there was no reason to keep his secret. He confessed that his family was in the assassination business, so he could just smell someone else from the same line of work. Kenzaki was totally shocked by this news. Kai told her it was up to her if she believed him. He also asked her not to tell anyone about the dead body, especially since the hero candidates were already shaken up by Hashimoto's condition. She agreed, then commented that she didn't realize he cared about them so much. Kai replied that it was just because they weren't used to fighting the way he was. Hashimoto was in bad shape, lying on the floor, severely injured. All the hero candidates gathered around her. A student named Hano stepped up. using her healing powers to treat Hashimoto. Everyone watched, totally amazed by what she could do. Hano then shared the good news. Hashimoto would be healed in about an hour. Meanwhile, the hero candidates were busy hyping up Shuji for defeating the monster earlier. Just then, Leonora and Gaius casually walked in, and the candidates immediately demanded to know where they had been and why they hadn't helped. Gaius quickly explained that he had been watching them the whole time. He basically said it wouldn't be good practice if he just saved them every time. Shuji argued back, pointing out how severe Hashimoto's condition was and that she could have even died. But Gaius wasn't having it, explaining that putting your life on the line was a natural part of military drills. He laid it out straight. This was the kind of battle they'd be facing, so they needed to stop making weak complaints. Shuji wasn't done, questioning how an armored monster appeared when they were told the area only had weaker ones. Leonora jumped in, suggesting it must be because of the demon assassin, as armored monsters weren't supposed to be there. Unaware that Kai had already taken care of the assassin, Gaius and Leonora decided to amp up their defenses. Leonora wasn't done being tough, adding that they needed to seriously increase their training level. She bluntly said that at their current strength, they would all just die. This freaked everyone out. Shuji tried to reason with her, but she insisted that getting stronger was the only way to survive. Arashi wasn't having any of it. He didn't like being ordered around and stepped forward to confront Leonora, but Gaius stopped him. He made it clear that they were all just Leonora's pawns and shouldn't think they could disobey her orders. Things were getting tense. Shuji stepped in quickly to calm Arashi down, knowing they really had no other choice but to obey. Gaius seemed impressed by Shuji. He then told the candidates not to worry, calling them important pawns for the country and promising no harm as long as they acted properly. Arashi still wasn't buying it. He unleashed his explosive power on Gaius, but Gaius dodged it like it was nothing. He then hit Arashi so hard that he fell to the ground. With one last harsh warning about their weakness and how things would only get tougher, Gaius and Leonora left. Arashi slowly got up, his face bleeding, and swore revenge on Gaius. The next day, their training took a new turn when Steady the researcher took charge. After a quick chat about yesterday, Steady dropped a bombshell. They were going to fight monsters at his research facility. He explained the facility was filled with all sorts of monsters that he was basically breeding for his experiments. Soon, the drill kicked off, forcing the hero candidates to fight these monsters. Gaius observed something unexpected. Everyone was surprisingly calm despite the intense situation. Shuji tried to intervene, telling Steady the monsters were too strong for the candidates, but Steady was firm. He said Leonora had demanded he be very strict, so he couldn't and wouldn't ease the training. Steady added that with their peers, losing wasn't an option in the first place. He stressed that their will was the most important thing. Shuji wondered if that would actually make a difference. Steady explained that if they trained right, they could level up their powers and even unlock new abilities. Gaius then stepped in, telling Shuji he could see a new power in him thanks to his judgment ability. Shuji was totally shocked. He immediately asked Steady if he could test it. Steady was stoked to see the power himself, so he allowed it. Shuji unleashed his new power. In a flash, he cleanly sliced off the monster's hand and head. Gaius instantly knew Shuji wouldn't have trouble with armored monsters anymore. He even wondered if his own judgment powers had gotten stronger. Guy realized Arashi had also gained a new power, but he chose to keep it a secret. That same night, Arashi was making dark plans. Kill Gaius, tie up Leonora, and force her to reveal how to return to their world. Several other candidates backed him, eager to escape this place. Arashi approached Narumi, knowing he was tired of this world too, and asked him to join their group for a better chance of success. Narumi hesitated at first, but eventually agreed to team up. The next day, Guy found Shuji training intensely. Shuji admitted he still felt weak and needed more power. Guy countered, saying Shuji's current strength was enough to take down half the knights in this world, but Shuji wasn't satisfied. He insisted it wasn't enough to defeat Gaius and protect everyone. Guy then asked Shuji his opinion on Leonora and Gaius. Shuji replied that he knew they were just pawns in a larger game, but he also trusted they wouldn't actually harm them. Guy pressed, asking if Shuji was ready to risk his life until the Demon King fell. Shuji confirmed his resolve. He declared he would be the one to fight, becoming the country's hero and defeating the Demon King. In exchange, he'd try to negotiate for everyone else's safety. Guy wondered if Leonora would even permit such a thing. Just then, Leonora and Gaius walked in. Leonora announced that Steady would take over the candidates' training while she was gone. Steady readily accepted, and the two leaders departed. Later, on their journey, Gaius questioned if Leonora had made the right decision. She calmly asked why he thought otherwise. Gaius told her to stop messing around and get to the point. He revealed Arashi was planning something, and Leonora agreed, suspecting a rebellion was brewing. Gaius then asked about her next move. Leonora replied she was simply curious to see what they would do. Gaius worried a rebellion from hero candidates with powers could could be disastrous. But Leonora remained unfazed, knowing they could never defeat her. She suggested they establish a strict hierarchy to crush the rebellion and completely dismantle their threat. Leonora also mentioned she saw other suspicious activities but decided to ignore them for now. Later that night, Kai was battling a monster. He took it down the exact same way he had on his first night. It only took him 13 seconds. When Kai used his judgment power on himself, he saw that he had leveled up. Suddenly a new monster attacked, but this one was tough. His blades couldn't even scratch it. This was the perfect chance to test his newest skill. He activated his new power, which could pinpoint a target's weak spot. Once he found it, he eliminated the monster in a flash. It was a decent skill, but Kai knew he needed even more to survive this world. He needed to become much stronger. More monsters kept attacking, but he defeated them far too easily. He realized he needed a tougher opponent to truly test his new abilities. Then, he heard footsteps. He spotted Kenzaki and asked what she was doing out so late. She explained she was looking for him because he wasn't in the dorms. Kai told her to leave, warning that the forest was too dangerous at night. He was totally used to night fights, but Kenzaki, not so much. She cut him off and demanded to know why he was even there. Kai explained he was just testing out his new powers. Kenzaki wanted to know what his new power was, but Kai just teased her. That's when she admitted she was actually worried about him. Caught off guard, she immediately turned red and started making up excuses. Suddenly, as they were talking, they saw smoke rising in the distance. A fire! Their dorm was burning down. They both rushed back, only to find other candidates already battling monsters. Narumi was super relieved to see them. He explained he'd woken up to fire and monsters everywhere. Kai immediately figured it was a human attack, and the mastermind had to be nearby. Kai told them to find and capture whoever was behind this. Just then, Steady appeared on the rooftop, saying their hunch was spot on. Kai realized how the monsters appeared. It all made sense now. Steady revealed these were all monsters from his lab. He'd even given them special medicine to make them stronger, because they were too weak before. Kai demanded to know his goal and why he'd gain anything from killing candidates. Steady explained it was a direct order from higher-ups. He was told to eliminate all the candidates, even if it meant losing his current job. He smiled, claiming he had nothing personal against them, but he sadly had to kill them all. They asked if Leonora ordered this. Steady quickly denied it, saying, "Of course not. That vixen wouldn't order this. It was the Demon King's command. He was the Demon King's spy." Steady revealed that if he did a good job, he'd even get a research position there. Kai confronted him, asking if he'd fallen so deep into darkness that only researching monsters mattered now. Steady simply replied that monsters were beyond human understanding. Steady commanded his monsters to attack. Kenzaki used her powers to stop them, but it was useless. They quickly shattered her spell and charged at her. Kai leaped in and saved her, which really excited Steady. He was amazed by Kai's power. Kai then kept fighting, taking down more monsters. Kai took down almost a dozen monsters. Steady grew furious, especially since Kai didn't even have strong powers to start with. Kai used his judgment power on Steady and saw that all his stats were weak. But what really stood out was Steady also had domination powers, just like Kenzaki, but way stronger. That's why Kenzaki's spell failed. Steady was totally shaken. He then used something he really didn't want to, but he had no choice. He warned Kai that he'd soon find out what it was. Kai jumped to attack, not wanting to waste a second, but suddenly, a giant red dragon appeared, spewing fire right at him. Steady's big secret was out, a giant red dragon. This monster immediately started throwing huge boulders their way. Kai quickly told Narumi to grab Kenzaki and get out, warning that another attack was about to hit. Kai used his power again, pinpointing the dragon's weak spot, its neck. He tried to attack, but his power wasn't enough to land a solid hit. Just then, Arashi showed up, immediately attacking the dragon. He started bragging about his strength, but the dragon quickly struck back. Kai told Arashi they needed to team up to take down the monster. Arashi wondered why he'd need help, so Kai explained he could find the weak points but lacked the power to finish it. Arashi stubbornly declared he didn't need a noob's help, but there was no time to argue as the dragon attacked once more. The dragon spewed fire at Arashi again, finally making him agree to team up with Kai. Kai quickly explained the weak spot, a specific scale on the dragon's neck. The plan was simple. Kai would distract the beast, and Arashi would hit that exact spot. Steady ordered the dragon to kill them both. The massive creature charged forward, but Kai drew its attention. Arashi seized the moment, striking the weak point, and the dragon crashed to the ground. With the dragon defeated, Kai taunted Steady, asking if he had any other tricks up his sleeve. Steady claimed he still had more monsters, but then learned Shuji and the others had already taken care of them all. Steady tried to escape, but Narumi quickly caught him. Kai demanded Steady tell them everything. Being a coward, Steady agreed right away. But before he could say a word, His body turned purple, and he died. He had been cursed to die the moment he tried to reveal any information. The next day, the candidates confronted Leonora as soon as she returned, since she was the one who put Steady in charge. She apologized, explaining she never thought such a weak demon tamer could cause so much trouble. The candidates were shocked to hear she knew Steady was a demon tamer all along. They questioned why she let a demon tamer be so close to them if she knew. Leonora defended herself, reminding them she'd warned their training would be tough, and this was just part of it. Gaius chimed in, accusing them of not being careful enough to spot a fire at night. Leonora then announced their next destination, the royal capital. The visit to the royal capital was for a public parade where the hero candidates would be introduced as the main stars. That evening, they all left for the capital and camped in a field once